Talk about your early life and where you grew up.
I grew up in Orange County, Cypress area, where I attended elementary school. And from there we moved to the Cerritos area where I completed junior high and high school.
Where were you at in life when you were first pregnant?
I was working at a credit union. I was in my early 20s, dating a guy that I had been with for a while, that I had known for a very long time. And just kind of typical, still really young, still really immature, still really selfish kind of place. But for the most part, that's where I was.
What were some of the circumstances that influenced you to have an abortion?
I can clearly remember speaking to one family member in particular. I didn't share it with a lot of people, but the one person that I talked to had a pretty big influence in my life at that time. And what she, looking back on it now, she gave me her perspective and her experience as a mother and how it started very early. And pretty much the way she explained it was, this pretty much is going to be the end of life as you know it, in a very negative way. There wasn't anything positive about it. It was, this will change, it'll change your whole life, and you have to be prepared for that. You aren't married, this wasn't planned, and she basically was giving me her experience because at a pretty young age, she had 3 kids. And so looking back on it now, that was her situation that she was sharing with me, her burden really, that she was sharing with me. It had been a burden for her. And unfortunately, she was the main person that I spoke to at that time. She was the primary person that had the biggest influence at that time. So it weighed heavily on me.
Talk about some of the emotions that you had leading up to the abortion.
Some of the emotions that I was experiencing leading up to the abortion, basically just caught off guard, feeling like I didn't have a lot of time to make this choice. I didn't emotionally, had I taken more time, I probably would have gone in a different direction from an emotional standpoint. But I think there was a lot of fear there, and it's frightening getting the news. I need to hurry up and make a choice here. And so emotionally, there was a lot of fear. A lot of fear. Just using a few words to explain what the experience of actually having the procedure done. Cold, dark, frightening, alone. I can remember right before I went under, as far as the anesthesia, right before I went under, I can remember saying, wait a minute, like I had changed my mind, like, wait a minute, hold on. And that was the last thing I remember saying. But yeah, that pretty much is what it was like as far as the procedure going into it right before it actually happened. And that being my last memory before it actually happened. The days following the abortion, I can't say that I really have any memory of that time. I think it was just, I was emotionally numb, mentally numb. I know that I wasn't doing anything to cause that numbing sensation, so the only thing I can really say is that I suppressed it because it was just so hard. It was a difficult time. Yeah, so the days following the procedure, there just aren't any memories there, so it was just a time that I blocked it out.
How does an abortion make life better?
It doesn't. Having an abortion never makes anything better, in my opinion. I've had more than a couple of decades to think about that and to consider that. It doesn't make anything better. There are so many options that women have or girls have. There's safe surrender at a fire station. There's adoption where, you can offer this child up to a family that would love to have a baby and raise this baby that you can even stay in contact with. I mean, there are endless options that you can choose. And truly, truly, it is the most selfless thing you can do to carry a baby to term and know that you're going to give that baby up at the end. I've heard women that have done that, and it's an amazing thing to know that at the end of this, I'm going to hand this baby over. But at the same time, it's the most beautiful gift because you're giving them life. Long term, reflecting back on how it's impacted my life, it's just a really ugly scar that will never go away. Since that time, I have given my life over to the Lord. And so I know that I'm forgiven. But it's one thing to be forgiven and something completely different to never be able to forget that choice. And not too much time goes by in pretty much every year that has passed where I don't think about, was it a boy, was it a girl? Who would she have looked like? Who would he have looked like? What kind of personality would they have had? And I just think about the life that my choice snuffed out. So yeah, the impact that it's had on me is just, the pain just doesn't go away, even with all the years that have passed. The pain will always be there, but God is so faithful to use it because I have a testimony to share with women and girls as a result of it. So God uses everything. Nothing happens in my life that just hits the floor and can't be used. Nothing hits the floor. He catches all of it and he uses all of it in a beautiful, beautiful way. And pain, he uses the pain as well. So as a Christian, I don't really have any regrets. But that is the one thing that if I could do over, I think I absolutely would have made a different choice had I spoken to just one person, just one pro-life person just anybody, it would have made a difference. For whatever reason, I spoke to one person that was on the other side of it. And ironically, this woman had 3 beautiful children of her own at the time. If there is something that I would share with women that are faced with this decision, girls that are faced with this decision, it's talk to people that have gone through that situation already, that have experienced it themselves, and that can tell you the lasting effects of what that choice is, what that choice looks like down the line. It doesn't go away. It never, ever, ever goes away. So talk to people that can tell you the facts about the fact that it's a baby. It's a baby. There's a life there. And when you see pictures, when you see the reality of what's there, for a lot of girls, I think for a lot of women, it'll change it. It will have them think a lot differently. I didn't do any of that. I didn't do any of that at all. And so I do think it makes it easier. But when you sit down with someone that can tell you the other side of it, like that this is what your baby looks like right now, this is what's happening right now, this is what's going to be happening next week and the week after that, it's just, please, if you can do that, it's going to make a profound difference in, I believe, the decision-making process. It isn't easy, it isn't cut and dry. That decision that you make will go on for the rest of your life. So obviously, if you've already done it, God's grace is there to cover it. I'm living proof of that. But if I could turn the clock back, there's just no way that I would have ever, knowing what I know now, I would not have made that choice. There's just, even in my early 20s, even if I was considerably younger, I wouldn't have made that choice. So. There really isn't a reason to rush into terminating a pregnancy. Take your time and talk to people. Pray. Even if you don't have a relationship with God, pray. And just ask for His Spirit to cover you and minister to you, and He will. He will do that. The question, after you've made the decision to abort a pregnancy, to terminate a pregnancy, is there anything positive that can come after that? For me, it just kind of, an analogy that I would use is, would it ever be okay to murder someone? That just is never okay. You just can't make that right. There are rare occasions where you're defending yourself or something in that, like that is happening. But other than those situations, you're almost always going to regret taking someone's life. Almost always. So if there's any way around that, and again, that typically comes from talking to people that have gone through it, going to that hospital and looking at those brand new babies through that window. Putting your hand on the tummy of a pregnant woman, and just going and talking to people that can give you more than enough information. That I truly, truly believe if most women were educated and had the information that they needed, a lot of the women wouldn't make the choice to terminate that baby's life. I just believe that. But so often there's a lot of fear that goes along with it. There's the uncertainty of the future. There's, I don't have support. Who can help me? Maybe there isn't a father there that wants to be a part. Maybe you're thinking about how your parents will react and what this will do to the family. And those things are almost always like worthless, not even worth considering once that baby is here. And you look back and almost always, I'm sure, will think like those things weren't even worth considering. But it's because there's so much fear surrounding that, you know, the reality that you're pregnant, you know, when you're not in a good situation. But if you give yourself enough time to talk to those people and do the few things that I mentioned, I do believe that that could be super, super impactful as far as the final decision that you make.